Hello, everyone. My name is Sun Nguyen, and I am the marketing manager of the NRA Clubs and Associations Department. Last time we were here, we discussed the benefits of having a good media relations campaign and how you can shape the message and influence decisions. We're back today to continue that topic and expand a bit more into using social media for your organization. Facebook, Twitter, and other forms of social media can be a great way to make connections with new people, or you reconnect with old friends. Effective social networking offers ways to list events, spread news, or even create good publicity. On the other hand, bad use of social networking can do the opposite and harm your organization. Back again today to enlighten us is Mr. Lars Daleside, Manager of NRA General Operations Media Relations Department. During this presentation, if you have a question at any time, feel free to use the question function in the menu on the right-hand side of the screen. Don't worry if you missed anything during this webinar. The session will be recorded and posted on our website for you to go back and listen. I know we have a lot to cover today. Lars has a lot to expand on, so let's get started. Lars?
Thank you, Sun. And thank you all for joining us today. In addition to the question box right there that Sun mentioned there, if you have any items or any suggestions there, also feel free to tweet your questions to @nrablog.com. I figure if we're going to do some social media, let's see if we can get some social media generated. So once again, that is @nrablog. So social media. Overall, the big question that most people have, if you're not familiar with it, is what exactly is it? And there's a lot of different renditions of what social media can be. But basically, when you get down to the nuts and bolts of it, social media is just an interactive internet platform. Or in other words, it's a way for you to begin discussions or interact with a certain community, a certain group of people, or a business. And as I said, when it comes to social media, it's not just the obvious ones like Facebook or Twitter. Wikipedia is considered social media, as is Reddit. And some of you might be wondering, well, why would Wikipedia or Reddit be? Well, because there is interaction, there is discussion, and there is ways when using these different platforms that you can drive traffic back to your website. Now, there are a lot of people out there that are wondering, why should I do it? Is this something for me? How should I get started? Well, when it comes to the why part, there are some really good reasons why. You see the first one I have up there is 58% of all internet users have at least one social media account. That's not just here in the US, that's worldwide. And when you get down to the real thing for people who are out there in our field, when you're talking about marketing, when you're talking about media, getting the younger crowd, the 18 to 35-year-old, that's your key target demo. Those are the people with the disposable income and more adaptable to the technology and internet side of things. So when you see that 98% of 18 to 24-year-olds use social media, that should tell you something. And another little fact to throw in there about YouTube reaching more 18 to 34-year-olds than any other cable network. Think about how much it would cost to put a commercial on USA, on TNT or TBS. But if you have yourself a good campaign that reaches out there through YouTube, that's something that's going to get you a lot more bang for your buck, but it's largely ignored. And when you are talking about the younger crowd, that is something that you should concentrate on with Twitter accounts, YouTube, and Google+. And finally, the number that I have up there talking about another reason why you should use social media, if you need to go to your boss, if you need to give them the reasons why. Americans spend almost 40 minutes a day on social media. That's more than they spend on any other internet activity. That's more than emailing, more than reading ESPN or Washington Times or Drudge Report or something like that. And when I say any, I do mean any, for those of you out there laughing. I'll get you a few more numbers here. Another thing, if you're trying to sell it to the boss as to why we should be more active on the social media side, is that the leads that you get from social media will give you twice as much production as the leads that you're going to get at the trade shows, through the direct mail, or any of your pay-per-click campaigns. There's going to be a higher conversion rate when you get that as well. And a couple other things, a neat fact was that I found that 54% of us who use social media will check it while we're in bed. Now maybe you're watching TV in bed, maybe you're reading a book in bed, but if half of America is actually checking out their social media sites while they're going to sleep, then that is a darn good reason why you should be out there and giving them something to see from your site, from your business on one of these social media platforms. And speaking with Sun earlier today, I had to do a little bit of quick research. He talked about how a lot of the stuff that he'll see on social media influences what he buys, and that's true for 46% of those of us here in America. And after you see why you should be on there, there's also a question of why it works. Well, the easiest answer is that you're making connections with people. The people that you went to high school with, the people you went to college with, the old girlfriend, the old flame, whatever it might be. It's a nice way that you can get back in touch and find out how people are doing. Another thing is that it's the direct line to companies or to celebrities. You want to say something to your favorite movie star, or personal experience here. I was delayed repeatedly by one particular airline who I will not name. Put up a quick post on their Facebook page, and about 10 minutes later I had a representative from the airline come up to me and actually explain what was going on, offer the apologies, and offer a little refund to the whole thing. So social media can be powerful. Another reason why it works is because of dopamine. I'm sure most of you have heard of dopamine, but it's sort of the pleasure-releasing drug that the brain lets out. And when you're talking about yourself or what you're doing, it releases some dopamine. So while you're playing around on Facebook, or while you're out there on Twitter, or sharing something on Pinterest, it's releasing some of that dopamine, and it's making you feel great, and you're enjoying what you're doing. And why it works? Well, who knows exactly why it works, but you have to look at some of these two examples that I put out here. The Oscar selfie with Ellen DeGeneres and Bradley Cooper and all the movie stars that they had there. They went out, they got 3 million retweets. If you could get something out there to show your boss that you got 3 million retweets, he'd be over the moon. And the other one I threw up there is Gangnam Style by the Korean rapper Psy. Now, Psy had been around for a good long time, had a number of albums out there in Korea, fairly popular in Asia. But once he put out that video on YouTube of Gangnam Style, went through the roof, became an international star. Now, I'm not saying that what you can put together, or for that matter what I can put together, is going to get that type of traction, but that's the potential. That's the opportunity. And the only thing that it costs you is whatever it takes to snap that picture or shoot that video or put together that tweet, which outside of man hours is usually next to nothing when you talk about a traditional advertising campaign. So you're going to do social media. What are the general things you should be doing? What should you be looking out to? And say be original, or there's no reason to be. And the reason I say that is there are a lot of accounts out there on dozens of different platforms that they repurpose or reuse other people's information. Now, while it's okay to repurpose and reuse other people's information, you should only do it so much. If you're not providing them quality of content, and that's quality original content, then why are they going to you? I could sit here and instead of tweeting out original stuff from my Twitter handle, NRA blog, I could tweet out stuff from American Rifleman or the NRA Museum or Shooting Illustrated, any one of the other social media accounts that the NRA has. But if I do that, the only thing I'm telling them is I think that these people over here, they have good stuff. I don't have good stuff, they have good stuff. So why do you bother following me? So you have to have your own good original content, or the only thing you're going to be doing is sending people somewhere else. And you've got to find out what works for you. What works for the local bakery, probably, I don't know, it might work for the local butcher shop, but it's probably not going to work for the local car salesman. There are different markets, different people, different types of communities that you're trying to reach. So once you get started, you have to play around and figure out exactly what works for you. And a big point that was pointed out to me by Randy Bowden of Bowden Bowden is that social media is a global media. So just because you're going to bed doesn't mean social media isn't working. You can get your message out across the world at any time of the day. If you're going to Malaysia, for example, that's 13 hours away. Maybe they do have an interest in what it is you're doing. You have somebody over there that is looking for a new recipe for a cake, or that has interest in what bikes you're selling, or that has interest in firearms like we do here at the NRA. So if you put something out at 1 a.m., at 2 a.m., at 3 a.m. in the morning, they're getting it over there while they're getting ready to get off work. So don't think that all of your tweets and your posts and your pins have to happen during regular East Coast American time. And when you're out there trying to come up with whatever it is you're going to tweet or post or pin, the majority of people go with text. At least they start with text. I know when I started with text. And while it's fine to have text, and probably some of your stuff should only be text, you have to shoot for more. And why do you shoot for more? Because more gives you more followers, more likes, more traffic overall. Images give you 3 times as much, and videos get you 10 times as much. And again, I'm not saying all of your stuff should include images or videos, but there should be a concerted effort to have a good percentage of them include that type of information. Don't push. Like I said, if all you do is sell, 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 then people are going to leave you. Yes, you're there, you're working for a business. I'm working for the NRA. But when you look at the tweets that I send out, I'm not talking the NRA this and the NRA that. I'm talking to individuals. I'm talking to people. Sometimes I'm even talking about the weather. What you're trying to do is build relationships and build conversations. So if all you're doing is telling me about this great deal that you have on this 2012 Dodge, then, you know, I don't need to follow you. I know that you've got deals on this Dodge because you're a Dodge car salesman. I want you to tell me about the community, about a great festival that's going on this weekend where you're going to be and I could go. Maybe there's a baseball game. Maybe there's a fair. Maybe there's something going on that I'm going to talk about with town hall, or I want to get into the political side. Political side is a little iffy sometimes, but maybe that is where you want to go. The fact is if you're pushing your information out there all the time, then the only thing I'm thinking is that you're pushing your information. And I want to have more than that, or at least that's what the social media world wants. Usually overall there's about a 70-30 division, maybe up to 80-20% of the of the unrelated to the sell part of it. So only 20 to 30% of the time should you be pushing your agenda, your product, or your organization. When you go ahead and create these different accounts, you have to be very careful about what you're doing when it comes to the username that you pick, because what you think is funny now might not be funny then, might not be clever. There are certain entities such as Twitter where once you choose a new username, that's all you have. Another very important thing to think about are hashtags. Hashtags are used in most social media sites. Use them when you can, which is basically just a number sign and a word. Usually it's a clever word. Usually it's an ironic word. With the recent weather and the snow that we're having, maybe it would be something like hashtag missing sunshine, or hashtag polar vortex as you're complaining about the weather and how it's going out. When I say don't spread or don't limit the spread of content, The limit of content is what you're doing with what you have to share. For example, if you make a video and you put it up on YouTube, you can then transcribe what's in that video and turn that into a blog post. You can then take the audio from that YouTube and turn that into a podcast. You can include those different things in a blog post. You can tweet the blog post that you have up there, and you can put the YouTube video up on Facebook to share the content. So don't think that one thing should be limited to one platform overall. You got to spread it around. And the one size fits all, there are a lot of times where I will see blog posts out there that are completely and totally mimicked in what they put up on Facebook, and then people automatically have that same thing tweeted out. And that's their social media plan. But that's not what people are there for. If I'm going to follow you on Twitter, I want something different on Twitter than what I'm going to find on Facebook, than what I'm going to find on Pinterest. Now, you might have similar things, and there might be overlapping stuff from time to time, but you can't have the same thing everywhere. You have to change it up because people are going to these different social media sites for different reasons. And the big thing to do is check out your competitors. You never know what they might be putting up, what they might be posting, what they might be tweeting. Maybe they have a good idea. So borrow it. Use it for yourself. That's what it's there for. And if you want to look at the big boys, you know, there's Nike, there's Coke, there's Apple, all sorts of great social media sites out there. Now, the ones that we're going to be looking at when it comes to the different applications and websites and properties overall, Facebook, Twitter, Google+, YouTube, and Pinterest. First, we start off with Facebook, because Facebook is the big boy on the block. And why are they the big boy on the block? Because they have over 1 billion users. And 1 billion users basically translates into 85% of everybody who is on the internet. The average person spends about 18 minutes a day on Facebook, and during that day, overall, everyone on Facebook will generate about 72 million likes. 72 million likes a day. And you're not on Facebook? Maybe you should be. We get before it says 45% of users of Facebook has an impact on the purchases that they make. So if your company is up on Facebook, and they're on Facebook, and they like your product, they like your restaurant, they like the service that you provide, then maybe that's something that they're going to post about. And they're not just going to post about it, they're going to go down there and they're going to spend that dollar on your restaurant, on your bicycle shop, on whatever it is that you're selling online. And this is something that you cannot ignore. Now, the top activity of when people are posting and looking at Facebook is once at 8 a.m. and another at 2 p.m. That should give you two different ideas. One, I got to post around 8 a.m. I got to post around 2 p.m. because that's when everybody's there. But on the flip side, maybe those are the times to avoid, because when there's less traffic, then your information and your posts are going to stand out. But so you know, that's when it is, 8 a.m. and 2 p.m. Now, what exactly is Facebook and how should you work with it? Facebook is more of a gathering of communities. When there's the personal pages, but most of the stuff that we have out there are for the different interest groups. You know, the products you like, the hobbies you have, the sports you play, the football players, the TV stars, the rock stars. It's a place where you can follow them and get some nice interaction. Now, for your own organization, as you're going through and using Facebook, when you start up, you can do it just about 2 to 3, maybe 4 times a week. But while you are posting these updates, you shouldn't do more than 2 or 3 at a time, because the more updates you post, the more your information is going to flow into your followers' news feed, and then the more they're going to start to get annoyed with you. So you don't want to overdo it. And what are you going to post? What are you going to put up there? You're going to put up a picture. You're going to put up a video. This is what we're doing at our company picnic. This is the back room when Bob is getting the cake ready, pulling it out of the oven. Or maybe there's an article about something in your industry that you think the people that are following you would be interested in. A lot of different things. So updates, pictures of what's going on around the company, or even a product, videos of the product being made, or the people there doing something entertaining. You know, even here at the NRA, we will put up videos from our national championships when people are out there shooting, which is always a very popular video. But something that shows not just the cool side or the professional side of what your operation does, but the behind-the-scenes stuff. Because people want to connect, and they're going to connect with you not when they see the bright, shiny penny, but when they see some of the behind-the-scenes stuff, and it humanizes you a little bit more. You can also ask questions and post polls and publish a calendar, let them know where people are going and what they're going to do. But the main thing that you have to think about is when you are posting something to Facebook, you ask yourself this question: if I saw this post, would I share it? Is this something that I would want others to see that I liked? If the answer to that is no, then why are you doing it? So how do you get started with Facebook? Real simple. All you need is an email address. Once you throw in your email address, you pick what type of page you want. Is it a personal page, business, profit, cause, celebrity? The two main things that you want to have ready to go is a cover image, which is the big thing on the masthead, and then a profile picture, which, you know, for the people that are putting up the personal pages, it's going to be a headshot. For those of you that are working with some sort of business, maybe it's the company logo. Maybe it's the company's top-line product. Maybe it's a new ad that you've developed for a newspaper or magazine campaign. Figure out what that is, and then off you go. Start posting 2-3 times a day, 2, 3, 4 times a week. Find out what works for you, then you move on from there. With Twitter. Twitter for me is where we put forth a little bit more effort right now. You see right now there are 640 million Twitter accounts out there that send 500 million tweets and perform 1.2 billion searches a day. So there's a lot of activity out there on Twitter. About 35% of the people out there around the world that are working with Twitter or on the internet have a, oh, I'm sorry, I see a question popping up, but I'll get to that in a second. But 35% of the people that are on their internet have a Twitter account. And of those people, about half of them are actively using that account. Another point out there that's sort of interesting is that 60% of people using Twitter use it from their handheld device, a mobile device. So you should think about that as you're posting for what type of content. Maybe that is something that you want to be a little bit more video or image focused with. Because as you're going along, it's nice to read a little something, but if you can see a picture, that's a quick, easy thing that, oh, I like that, I'm going to share that, I'm going to post that on my page too. And the top times for Twitter are 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. And again, you can either be part of the people, for that's when people are checking it out, so you can be one of those companies that make sure that they get their message out during the 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., and that is Eastern time, sorry. But 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. is when I'm going to put my information out there, or maybe that's the time that you avoid so you don't get caught up in the rush. Let's see a question out there. So you mentioned not annoying people with content as a reason not to post too often. But what about mentioning the Facebook algorithm effect and how if when people see your post in their feed? Facebook has been doing a lot of different things with their algorithm about how often your stuff goes up in what feeds and how that is filtered out depending on your activity, user preference, and a whole bunch of other things. And that algorithm, much like the algorithm that Google uses, is ongoing. It's not a stable thing. They're constantly updating and constantly changing that. So while Facebook will use their algorithm to make sure that your posts aren't showing up too often in other people's feeds, then the question that you have to ask is, well, if they're filtering it out, then why am I putting more in? If you're putting more in all at once and Facebook is filtering it out, all the more reason not to post a great deal of content all at one time. Hopefully that answers the question. Twitter activity. What you're doing on Twitter. Twitter is more personal contact. As I said, it's a nice way to get to know people, to establish relationships, and to ask some of the more mundane questions that let you connect on a more personal level than on a business professional type thing. For me, I always start the day with a good morning. Maybe I'll throw a picture up of what I'm seeing from my front door or something I see along the way. Or recently, with things being frozen, a lot of snow pictures. You answer questions and you address concerns. That's one of the great things about social media. The story that I mentioned earlier about how I was standing in line at the airport with constant delays, and I put something out there and it was addressed within 10 minutes personally, not just over the internet, but personally. And again, it acquires original content. If all you're doing is retweeting, sending out what other people are saying, what other people are doing, then why would I come to you? Why would I follow you? There's no reason at all. You have to have original content. So if you can't post content a few times a week, then you shouldn't even start. And Twitter out there, it's very liquid. It's a mobile environment to the umpteenth. And if you start following more than a few people, for example, right now through NRA Blog, I am following a little over 1,000 people. So for those people that don't post a few times a week, much less a few times a day, then they get lost. There are other people out there that I value more that are sharing content, that's sharing information, pictures and videos, things that make me laugh, things that make me think. You have to have a reason for people to follow you. And if they're not giving or not receiving that reason, then they're just going to stop.
Now, Lars, are there any tips that you can provide on for people to find you, to even want to follow you? I mean, you said that you follow a few thousand people. How do you find those 1,000 people to follow? If I started a Twitter account, how am I getting my message out to those people that I want to follow me? How do I get the 1,000 followers or millions of followers that some celebrities or companies have?
Well, a quick and easy way is you can buy them. But I am very, very much against buying Twitter followers, buying Facebook followers, buying any sorts of followers, because they're not, that's quantity and not quality. And what you want is quantity, or quality, I'm sorry. You want people that have a reason to follow you to be the ones who are following you. If you want to get my attention at NRA Blog, then you send a tweet that starts, "Hey," at NRA Blog. What do you think about my new rifle? Or when is there a competition in my area? Or when can I take a basic pistol class? You have to ask me questions. You have to come to me. And usually when somebody tweets to me, the first thing I do is I look at their profile. And if the profile is interesting, then I look at their tweets. And if their tweets are interesting, I'm like, oh, this person is an asset. This is somebody that I'm going to enjoy reading their information, and maybe at times I'm going to retweet their information. And then I start following. So build it up, have a good description of what it is that you do, have some interesting posts, and there you'll go. And another thing you talk about with Twitter, about why it's so good and why it's so important, is Twitter is highly credited with helping launch the revolution in Egypt. That's how they organized. That's how they spread their information. That's how they were able to come together and overthrow the dictator that was ruling them for all those years. And to say it's faster than network news. You remember there was a guy that tweeted about the helicopter over his house when SEAL Team 6 was going after Osama bin Laden. No, that came out hours before anything came out, maybe even half a day. I have to go back and look at it overall. So Twitter is a very powerful tool. Now, if you're using it for the business and the social side, it's not going to be as big as launching a revolution in Egypt. But it is something that you're going to be able to utilize to get people to appreciate your brand, to like your brand, and to be more apt when they're walking down the street and they see your brand. They're like, oh, I remember those guys. They had that cool tweet. They had that cool picture. I'm going to go in and look at that. And they're going to give you more consideration. Remember that fact I threw out earlier, almost half the people that see and like a brand or an organization through social media are more likely to buy or purchase something from them. So, how do you start on Twitter? Also very simple. Name, email, and password. Now, picking a handle or a username for Twitter is a very important step. You can't change it. We've called, we've asked, we've tried. It can't be done. It's got to say who you are and what you are. And though you might think something funny right now, it might not be funny in the future. For example, the email address that I used to use. Loved it. Thought it was a funny email address. But seeing that doesn't change anything. It doesn't say who I am or what I am, or at least not who I am or what I am now. So maybe you want a very professional sounding one. Maybe it's the name of the business. Maybe it's the spirit, like defend the Second Amendment or something like that we would have here at the NRA. It has to say something about what you're representing. Make sure you get that before you sign up, because if you start building up followers and then you're thinking, no, I don't really like this, then you can't change it, and all the work that you put into getting all those followers is gone. Once you've made that decision, start tweeting away. Google+. Why should you be worried about Google+? Because Google Plus gets 1.2 billion visitors a month, and that's the biggest boy on the block. It's the second most popular social media entity out there, and it reaches 43% of the people around the world. For Google Plus, if you're putting your post up there, anywhere from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. are the very, very top activity hours. And why should you use it? It's Google. You think like SEO, search engine optimization. If you have a Google Plus account and your company is already, no, let me start over. Your company is already on Google. You make wicker baskets. Whatever you do on your company's website, whatever descriptions you have, whatever white pages you have, Google is going to go through and index them, and it's going to rank you accordingly. Maybe that puts you on the second page. Maybe it puts you on the third page when people search for wicker baskets. But if you have a Google Plus account and you put up a picture of the next wicker basket that you're producing, or you talk about where you're getting your wicker basket materials from, or where you're shipping them to, that's more information that Google is getting, tying to your website and raising you in the ranks. So having an active, productive Google Plus account helps your overall Google ratings. Another good thing about Google Plus, as opposed to something like Facebook, and yes, Facebook has made some changes, but when Google Plus launched, they threw out the idea of circles of friends, family, acquaintances, work, and all sorts of other things that you were able to say that this is what this person means to me. And the reason that's important is because with that, if I want to show what could be an embarrassing picture at work I can do that on Google Plus and say just to my friends. Or if I want to share a picture from a family reunion, I can share that just with the family. Why you would want to hide some of these things from the different people, who knows? But there are plenty of reasons why, and it's something that you can take advantage of. Let's say it builds personal relationships instead of communities. And the other really cool thing that I like about Google Plus are the Google Hangouts. And if you're not familiar with those, think of Skype. And with Google Hangouts, you can have a Skype-type interaction with up to 10 people at once. You sit around, you talk about a project that you're working on. You're holding your fantasy football draft and you want to make fun of your friend to his face for the pick that he just made. Or, again, you can have that family reunion right there on Google+. But see, the other side of things is that Google Hangouts provide a live broadcast. People go to your Google Plus page and they can watch whatever it is that you want to broadcast at that time. You're having a big debate. You're having a product launch. You're at the company picnic. You are holding a competition or a tournament of some type and you're not happy with the overall coverage that you're getting from the local media. So why not just broadcast it all through a Google Hangout? You can record that and then release that on your Google Plus page, on your Facebook page, on your YouTube page, whatever you like. It's a great tool. So starting on Google Plus, you got to fill out a few more things than you do on the other social media platforms, but again, it's well worth it. The first things that you're going to need, again, are the same things that we talked about with Facebook. The profile picture, which for a personal page could just be a headshot, or for the company or association or cause page or fan site, it's going to be a picture of that celebrity, or it's going to be the company logo, or it's going to be the product that you're hoping to highlight that week.
Lars, is there an advantage to using one platform over the other? Like, would I use Facebook for a particular thing, or then use Google Plus for another thing, or should someone sign up for both, or?
It all depends on what you're trying to accomplish overall. From when you're talking about with Google Plus versus Facebook, you have to gauge your interaction. You have to see which industry you're in, because some are more prevalent on one social media site than another. Each have their advantages, each have their disadvantages. Again, it's hard to argue about either one. I will say, getting started into the whole thing, I find it usually easier to go with Facebook than with Google Plus, because though they do have this great overall outreach, people are still trying to figure it out. And since Facebook has been around for a while, it's easier to understand what it is you're doing and what you're accomplishing. But again, with Google Plus, as I said, it's Google. Anything that you do there is going to be tied back to your company website, to your fan website, to your personal website or blog, and that's going to lift you in the overall rankings. And that's one of the biggest reasons why I can tell you to go with Google Plus. YouTube. 1 billion users a month spend 2.9 billion hours a month watching YouTube. That translates into 4 billion videos a day, and that reaches almost 45% of the globe. And the very, very interesting fact that should make you sit back and think about why should I bother with YouTube is that it's the #2 search engine in the world behind Google. Not Bing, not Yahoo, YouTube. That should make you pause and think. Because if people are going through and looking at these videos and that's how they're getting updated on your products, on your cause, on whatever your personal thing might be, that's where it's going to go. And even more so when it comes to the 18 to 35-year-old crowd. What do you do on YouTube? Something informational, a how-to video, something kind of funny. when you get up there, you don't want it to be too crisp and too businesslike. Yes, there are the places for that, but generally speaking, those are the ones that are going to work. And when you do this, you don't need some top-of-the-line camera that Peter Jackson is using to shoot the next version of The Hobbit or The Lord of the Rings or whatever he's working on now. You can use the basic thing you buy off the shelf for a few $100s, and usually the editing software that comes with those cameras will be more than enough. Or if you're like me, I've got my Mac here, comes with iMovie. I can cut it up, the video, however I like. I can drop in the sound check, no problem. Might seem overwhelming when you start, very easy once you jump on board. When you get through with Google or with YouTube, you need to go through and update that a few times a month. I know it's a tough thing to do, but as you're going through and you're gaining traction on YouTube, if all of a sudden you don't have anything there, then again you have to ask yourself the question, why would people come back? Why would they come to my YouTube page for videos that aren't there? They've already seen them. They need something new. And that's one of the things about every social media site out there is you got to keep feeding the monster. If you don't build up content, they're not going to come back. And as I pointed out earlier, when it comes to YouTube, the great thing about shooting a video for something is that you can use it on multiple platforms. If you have a 2 to 5 minute video, you cut it up into 6 seconds and you put it up on Vine. Or you can tweet out the YouTube video. Or you can take the transcripts from that YouTube video and add it to your post. Or make it a white paper for your company website. And then take the audio and turn that into a podcast. There are multiple uses for what you can do with YouTube. So if you start there, you can feed a whole bunch of social media entities all at once. To get your start on YouTube, you just sign in with your Google account and shoot the video. As I said, the shorter is usually better than longer. How long are you going to sit and watch one video? If it's not making you laugh, if it's not making you think, if you're not watching it for school, are you going to watch a video for longer than 5 minutes? Most people not. If you do something more than 2 to 4 minutes, it's not going to go anywhere. Better numbers with music. Now, when you put music to your videos, make sure you have clearance. That means you're not going to take the latest thing off of Metallica and throw it in as you put your video of your guys out there doing tricks on the skateboards or your mountain bikes or whatever it might be. That's considered to be illegal. So, if you don't have clearance, they will come after you. It might take a while, but they will. There are plenty of sites out there that offer free music, free soundtracks, free background. Go on, get that, use that, have fun with it. The last one we're going to is Pinterest. Most people out there, when it comes to social media, it's one of the smaller entities, but it is growing like a wildfire. In fact, it has a 88% growth last year alone, which was the highest for all social media entities. People that are on Pinterest will spend 15 to 60 minutes a day going through there, which generates into 2.5 billion page views a month. One of the important things I put up there at the top and forgot to mention is it's highly viewed by the female market. More women than men, considerably more than any other social media platform, are going to go through Pinterest. And again, we have that same number, 69% find an item that they want to buy or that they have bought there on Pinterest. The top times again are 1 to 3 p.m. and again they're at 9 p.m. And what it is that you're doing on Pinterest? Well, Pinterest is basically a collection of pictures. So what you're going to need to start off with is a good collection of pictures. And with those pictures, those are pictures that appear on your website, on your fan site, on your blog. And you have you take the URL from that web page and you put it into Pinterest, and Pinterest will go through and select the pictures that are up there. You pick whichever one that you want to highlight, you put a little message in there, don't forget the hashtags, then you hit enter, and boom, you've got your first Pinterest post. Now, I will admit that when I started this, I thought, oh, pictures, you want pictures. Oh, I've got Flickr, I've got Google Plus Photos, I've got all sorts of great places where I've got great pictures. No, you don't want to send them there. If you send them there, they're just going to be looking at your pictures. The reason that you're putting these pictures up is so people say, that looks cool, or that looks tasty, or I want to buy that, and they click on that picture, and it takes it to the page that lets them buy that, or lets them download that, that lets them do something. So make sure that the web pages that you link to those pictures are actually the web pages that are going to allow the end user to do something. When you get there, you're going to be putting things into what's called boards, which is the collection of pictures. For example, for me with the NRA, I have a board about the NRA annual meeting. I have a board about NRA competitions. I have a board about the firearms that appear on Curator's Corner, which are basically firearms that are highlighted by the National Firearms Museum with one of our local broadcasts here. You put these different boards together in different categories. So if you are a bakery, you've got a board of cupcakes, of chocolate cakes, of funnel cakes, of these cakes and those cakes and all sorts of cakes. Each and every board, so while people are fans of your bakery, maybe they're just fans of your cupcakes. So they go to that section, they look at that, and like, oh, that's so good, I'm going to go run down there right now. You follow the boards that you're interested in, and hopefully those people will follow back. And then they'll start sharing your pins with others. The top spots overall when it comes to the activity on Pinterest is jewelry, cooking, and clothing. So what you do with Pinterest, most of the social media accounts, Twitter is how I sign in to Pinterest. You have 2 or 3 boards that you can launch right away, things that you can go ahead and you know that things are going to happen, of areas. Like for me, I know I've got pictures of the guys from the museum, so that's one board. I know I've got pictures of our competition, so that's another board. I know I've got pictures of the annual meeting, so that's another. Have those boards ready for when you launch. Know where you're going to get it. And with Pinterest, as opposed to some of the other social medias, you don't have to worry about the regular intervals. You don't have to feed, feed, feed. That can be more of a, I'll feed it when I can, and then those pictures and the posts and the pins will be there when people come to search for those individual things. Again, a reason why your hashtags are important, because for me, I've got a picture of this one firearm, and I write the description out, and then I put hashtag Smith & Wesson, hashtag revolver, hashtag Civil War, because it was a Smith & Wesson revolver used during the Civil War. And when people search for those different things, boom, they will see my pin. And Pinterest also has a neat little thing where you can, whenever you pin something to the boards, that it will go out over Twitter. Go ahead and use that. Write up your description, use the hashtags again, and post it out. That way you're killing 2 birds with 1 stone. And no, doing it that way does not violate the terms that I said earlier about using the same things on every platform, because you are tweeting different things in addition to Pinterest, and not everything that you put on Pinterest you're going to tweet out. So as Sun was saying earlier, what do I do? Where do I begin? All depends on what you're looking for. For me, I find Twitter to be the easiest one overall, because you can just start sending your messages out, but it does require that you continue to feed it. Personally, there are times where I will send out 50 to 60 tweets a day. Now, yes, there are other times where I will send out 5. All depends on how much you want to do and how much work and interaction is involved. Facebook, you know, that has more users than anybody else, and it's easier if you want to promote the local stuff. So if you're just worried about, again, selling pies in Baker City, California, then maybe that's the place that you start. If you have more of a female-focused market, then Pinterest is where you want to go. With YouTube, it goes everywhere, and Google is Google. they are feeding everybody and anything. So if you're looking for a place to start, and maybe that's focused on raising your overall awareness when people are searching, then maybe that is the way to go. If you have any more questions for me overall regarding the social media side, there's my contact information. I'm more than happy to answer any questions. Sometimes I do that unsolicited when I come across websites or social media outlets and try to push them along for how it's going to go. So with that, thank you very much, and looking for any questions you might have.
All right. Thanks, Lars. That concludes our webinar for today. We're going to stick around for a few minutes to answer any questions that you have for myself or for Lars. Be sure to check back our website, clubs.nra.org, for future webinars and if you want to hear a rebroadcast of this. So stick around for a few minutes and we'll answer some questions.
Well, one that I see that popped up here, asking about the frequency of posts. I think I might have scared a few people when I said that I've tweeted 50 to 60 times a day. That is not a necessity. That's usually when we are in the midst of a big event. For us, it's annual meeting or during our championships. And you get more active when you're there because you have more material to share. So don't think that you have to do it. Another time that I tweet a lot is during TV shows. I will follow TV shows that are firearms focused and tweet during them, saying, God, that looks like fun. Wouldn't you like to try to find an NRA basic pistol class near you? Or this is the gun they're shooting. You can see great pictures of it at the NRA Museum. So that's another way that you can sort of get involved, find a program where people are tweeting along with it and see if you can get a little interaction. Find another one here. Do you recommend scheduling posts and tweets in a platform like Hootsuite? A lot of platforms out there that will let you do that sort of thing. Hootsuite has a very good product that will let you work across multiple platforms. You can schedule tweets and posts, but one of the things people worry about is if something happens, do I remember to unschedule that post? You're talking about that you've got your latest delivery of bicycles coming in today, so come on down to the store. Oh, what if something happens to the truck? What if there's a big snowstorm and they can't get through? So you don't have your product in store. If you then have that tweet scheduled to go out at the next morning when you don't have any product, then people are going to show up and say, but you tweeted it out this morning. So scheduling tweets and posts, you can do that. I think that's fine. I actually do that with about half of my stuff. But don't think that you can do it each and every time. Be on top of it when something comes along. See another one I have here. I have connected my business Facebook page to my Twitter account, and when I post a schedule on Facebook, they automatically. Can this be done with Pinterest and Google as well? You can tie those up. You can make those all happen at the same time through different things like Hootsuite. But again, I will caution you against doing that. I follow a great deal of people on a great deal of different social platforms. And with a lot of them, I stopped following them on 3 out of those 4 places because I'm seeing the same post and the same information everywhere. It can be done. That's fine if that's how you want to do it, but you are going to be driving people away if they get the same information, the same pictures, and the same post each and every place. So yes, you can do it, but watch out for it. And with that, son?
There's actually a few more, Lars. They're coming in.
Said the good videos out there on how to use Twitter and YouTube. Well, here's the fun thing out there. You want to talk about, are there any good tutorial videos on how to use Twitter and YouTube, or Twitter and Google+? Yes, there are. And you know where you're going to find them? YouTube. YouTube has great videos out there on just about everything. if you want to learn how to build a fence, if you want to learn how to work on Photoshop, and if you want to learn how to use Twitter and YouTube, there are tons of videos out there on YouTube to do just that. The only thing that you have to do, go to the YouTube, and again, second most popular search engine out there. So go to YouTube and put in how to use Google+, how to use Twitter, and they will run you right through it. Perfect things out there. Great way to use social media, to learn about social media. And with that overall, how are we looking? Okay, again, say that if you do have any follow-up questions that you would like me to address, you have my contact information right there. I'd be more than happy to answer that as it comes along. Will there be a follow-up on what to do with negative comments through social networks? Well, you know, one of the most important things about being on social media is that you have to interact with the people. You have to talk with people. If they have a question, if they have a complaint, you have to address it. And if there's a tweet that goes out or a post on your Facebook page that is knocking you around somehow, you have to address that, because you're not only worried about that one individual person, you're worried about all of the people that are going to read it. So follow up in a very professional manner, no joking around, and make sure that you address the concern of that particular individual. Then people are going to see that you're a company, an organization, a business that cares and that will come to the customer and address whatever their concerns might be. Now, as the negative comments get more negative, get more brutish, and if they start using curse words, then that's something that you just have to get rid of. You have to block them, you have to delete them, you have to get them off the network. Some people, they won't listen. I know as somebody working for the National Rifle Association, there are definitely people that are out there that believe in the other side, and they will get very, very nasty, and there is no way to answer their questions. So that is an unfortunate necessity. But for most of the people where they weren't happy with how this competition was held, or they were unhappy with the fact that this event was canceled, you go through and you explain to them in a clear, concise, professional manner as to what happened, why it happened, and I'm sorry, and we're going to try to make it work for you. Think of yourself as a concierge. No matter what problem the guest has with their room, with the room service, with the hotel in general, you are there to make it right. You are there to make them happy. And that's what you're doing as the guardian of social media for your business or organization.
All right, that looks like all the questions we have for today, and we've run out of time. Thank you again, Lars, for this fantastic presentation and webinar. Again, if you guys have any questions, feel free to contact Lars at the email address that he has posted there, or if you have questions for clubs and associations in general, you can send them to clubs@nrahq.org. Again, if you want to view this webinar or even check out any of the past webinars, go to the Clubs and Associations website, clubs.nra.org. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.